Welcome to Propel Church. My name is Will. This awesome guy here, his name is Matt. We have the opportunity and the privilege to be able to serve on the dream team here at Propel, and it is incredible.
Yeah, it is, man. It's such an honor to serve here at this church and to be a part of this worship experience today, man. I'm super excited to be here. I love how many options we have to watch these worship experiences too. Come on, we got some people with us that are on watch parties right now on Facebook. Hey, if you're with us actually right now, if you're with us on a watch party, we want to ask you to do us a favor. Go ahead and tell us what you're eating for breakfast. If you're in the 9 a.m., we want to know what you're having for breakfast.
Right.
10:30, we want breakfast or lunch for 10:30. That's a little bit later. Brunch? Come on, I like brunch.
Right.
Tell us what you're having for brunch. Let's kickstart the conversations. Make sure that you're engaged today. We want to be sharing this and liking. Hit the heart emoji when Pastor Nick brings the heat, because he always does, right? Make sure you hit that fire emoji like 5,000 times. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm in these watch parties, I hit the heart emoji. Like, I just be like heart emoji, heart emoji. Yeah. I'm probably annoying everybody, but it makes me feel good. So that's what it's all about. Right. We got it's on demand, right? So you can watch this sometime later if you'd like to. And we have house parties. Right. Have you been to a house party yet?
I have not, but if you're in a house party, post a picture of what you're having for dinner.
Yeah, that's a great idea, man. I'd love to see that, man. It just makes my heart so happy and full when we see these these house parties, man. And I've had a lot of great things and had the opportunity to be in some of them. House party people, propel.church/house party. That's where you're going to find your discussion guide for this week. It's going to have the breakout questions, if you will, for after the experience.
Right. Now, we're in week 4 of pace problems, the series that Pastor Nick is doing. And last week, Matt did an awesome job with his pace of restlessness. Yeah. And one of the things that really stuck out to me in that is
pause.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you just stop and you breathe.
Yeah. I really enjoyed teaching that message, man. And so big shout out to Pastor Nick and Tori. They're incredible, man. Anytime you see me teach, if you think it's good, it's totally because they're awesome teachers. If it's bad, it's all my fault, I promise you. But seriously, man, it was a huge honor. Thank you so much for your kindness. You're too kind, sir. But I love the pause thing, man. I added that actually a little late. And it all kind of stemmed from the perspective that we love God deeply, but we have a really hard time sitting still with him throughout the day. So that's just like that intentional time just to be like, hey, God, I love you, and I'm just going to sit here quietly. Like, I'm not going to bring a prayer list and a bunch of crazy stuff to you. I just need to breathe, right?
That's good stuff.
Hit the pause button. So
good stuff.
Yeah, thanks, man. Hey, we got a couple of dates coming up for you to be aware of, to mark down on those calendars for us. October 18th, that's tonight. We're throwing a cookout, man. It's a fall cookout. It's going to be so much fun. The weather has been just incredible this fall. We've had lots of cookout weather-friendly days. That's what I'm trying to say. Weather-friendly days. We're going to have a ton of good food there. What's on the menu?
Church barbecue.
We
got some guys in the church that they're good with their smokers.
Yeah.
And they're gonna bring some heat.
Yeah, they always do. I have a feeling I know who it is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but that's super secret information that Will is giving you right now. So you should be pumped that you know the menu ahead of time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's going to be from 5 to 7 p.m. tonight. We're also going to have cornhole. If you're competitive like me, come out there and I'll show you how to get beat in cornhole.
Right. Also on October 23rd, from 5:30 to 8:30, we're going to have a work day, which is an excellent opportunity for you to be able to come and help us get ready to be able to meet in person here as our HVAC is actually getting started.
Yeah, man. It's an incredible opportunity. Yeah, it's super fulfilling to meet for the work days. And then one last date for you, October 31st. That's Halloween, y'all. We throwing a party. Like a Propel Church party, shindig, right?
Rave ready.
That's right, rave ready. We get down with some Propel Church parties. If you've never been to one before, you're missing out. And don't miss out on this one. It's October 31st. It'll be from 5 to 8 p.m. We're going to have candy, all kinds of stuff. The Dream Team always does such a cool decorating thing. It's just, man, it's just so much. My kids have so much fun there too, man. They love it.
Oh, yeah. Church, we believe God has great things for us. And we're glad that you're here with us this morning. And the experience starts now.
I am holding on to faith. 'cause I know you make a way. And I don't always understand, and I don't always get to see, but I will believe it, and I will believe it. 'Cause you make mountains move, you make giants fall, and you use songs of praise to shake prison walls. And I will speak to my fear, I will preach to my doubt. You were faithful then, you'll be faithful now. I am standing on your word, calling heaven down to earth. And you will fight my enemies, and this will end in victory. And I will believe it, yes, I will believe it. 'Cause you make mountains move, and you make giants fall, and you use songs of praise to shake prison walls. And I will speak to my fear, I will preach to my doubt. When you were faithful then, you'll be faithful now. Oh, you were faithful then, you'll be faithful now. Yes, I know that I know you never fail. Yes, I know that I know you never will. Yes, I know that I know you never fail. Yes, I know that I know you never will. 'Cause you make mountains move, you make giants fall, and you use songs of praise to shake prison walls. And I will speak to my fear, oh, I will preach to my doubt. You were faithful then, you'll be faithful now. You make mountains move, and you make giants fall, and you use songs of praise to shake prison walls. And I will speak to my fear, I will preach to my doubt. You were faithful then, you'll be faithful now. Oh, you were faithful then, you'll be faithful now. Jesus, we just lift up that praise to you today. God, knowing that you've been faithful to us before. God, the scripture says you're faithful yesterday, today, and in the future. God, you remain the same. You remain so good. In church today, as we come together and we just sit in the presence of God, I don't know where you are in life, or maybe even where you are right now tangibly, if you're watching this live or if you're listening on demand in your car. No matter your situation, your circumstance, or your placement, know that the hand of God can be over you, and just the voice of God can speak into your life in these moments so powerfully. So as we continue in worship today, we just focus in and just lean in to God's voice, because we really believe that He can do some incredible things. And no matter the tactic or no matter the weapon of the enemy that Satan tries to bring against you, we know that God can take any lie and turn it into just a powerful truth and say, hey, no matter the lie that you feel or that you've heard in your life, no matter what, you're loved, you're valued, you're treasured, and that God cherishes you so much. So let's continue in worship and declaring this song called Sea of Victory. The weapon may be formed, but it won't prosper. When the darkness falls, it won't prevail. 'Cause the God I serve knows only how to triumph. My God will never fail. Oh, my God will never fail. And I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Yeah. You have already won the battle. You have already won the fight. There's power in the mighty name of Jesus. Every war he wages, he will win. Oh, I'm not backing down from any giant, 'cause I know how this story ends. Come on, sing it with all your heart. Yes, I know how this story ends. And I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Come on, sing it out. That I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna stop fighting. You've already won. Already won. Sing this out, church. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. We believe. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. Every lie, every lie. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. We proclaim. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. And I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. And I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. And I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy lift that up today. God, we know that victory is in you. And God, we know the battles that we go through on a day-to-day basis are real. But God, they're battles from a war that's already been won. So God, we know that we have victory in you, no matter the lies of the enemy. God, that he is a defeated foe. God, that your word says, God, that because of you in us, God, that we have the ability to crush Satan under our feet. So God, thank you for that victory today. And I pray that as we transition in hearing from your word today, God, that you would just help us to remember how much you care for us and love us. So God, we thank you and we praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Well, hey, Propel Church, Pastor Nick here. I am so excited to be with you this morning. Maybe it's this afternoon, maybe it's this evening. Whenever you're watching, we're so excited that you chose to join us for Propel Church Online this weekend. I also want to give a very special shout out to those of you who are in the Coltrane Life Center. We want you to know we're so honored and excited to have you a part of our church family. We're so grateful as you kind of dig in and connect, and we are here to serve you. We love you, even though for a lot of you, we've never met you before. We are in week 4 of a message series called Pace Problems. And in this series, we've been learning how to run our race accordingly. We've talked about some pitfalls. And last week, I am so grateful that Matt shared a word on restlessness, that it got you and I into the place where we were figuring out how do we hit the pause button? How do we slow down and really focus and connect with God? This week, I want to talk to you about the pace of recovery. Now, when we talk about recovery, a lot of times we think of an injury. A few years ago, I had injured both of my legs and went through a recovery process. Every single one of us that claim to be followers of Jesus are going through a recovery process. There is an old way of living, and there's a new way of living. 2 Corinthians 5:17 talks about how your old life is gone, but your new life is here. And the in-between, as you're kind of navigating, transitioning from old life to fully embracing new life, is this process of recovery. And so maybe you're thinking today like, hey, I don't feel like I'm in recovery, but I want you to write this down. Until we meet Jesus face to face, we will be in recovery. If you go back to the very beginning of Genesis, what you're going to find is that God created you and I to live in perfection with Him. He created us to do life with Him, to be in communion and fellowship with Him, but sin separates us from God. And because sin separated us from God, there had to be a payment that was made. So God sent Jesus to die as a sinless sacrifice for you and for me, so that in Him we could have access to God. In Him we could be redeemed and restored back into right standing with God. So the recovery for us as followers of Jesus is this process where we're navigating back to the way we were originally designed to live. According to Google, come on, how many of y'all love Google? According to Google, this is what it says: recovery is a return to health, mind, or strength. It's the action or process of regaining possession or control of something that was lost. Because of sin, our connection with God was lost. But thankfully, because of Jesus, that connection can be restored. So I want to talk to you today about the pace of recovery. And to do that, I'm going to take us to a passage of Scripture in 1 Samuel. In 1 Samuel, we're going to talk about 1 Samuel chapter 30. We're going to talk about the life of David. And just to kind of bring you up to speed with the story, there were these, while the Philistine forces were away, the Amalekites raiders, they came in and they pillaged this village. And as David and his men are returning, what they see is that their city's been burned down, that their families were gone. And in this passage, God is going to give David the permission or the confirmation to pursue these people, to destroy them. But look at what it says in 1 Samuel chapter 30, beginning in verse 6. I'm going to read you the whole story. Then I got 3 things for you. They all start with P, because you know that's how good preachers do it. 1 Samuel chapter 30, verse 6. It says, David was greatly distressed because the men were talking of stoning him. Each one was bitter in his spirit because of his sons and daughters. Now, these were not the opposing forces. These were David's men. And David's men were angry because they come back to their home after being gone with David to find that everything's been destroyed. Their families are gone. Their children have been taken. And so they're angry with David. They're angry at the situation, and they're talking about killing him. So it says this, but David found strength in the Lord his God. Then David said to Abiathar, the priest, the son of Ahimelech, bring me the ephod. Abiathar, come on. How many of y'all ever read names in the Bible and you just get tongue-tied? Brought it to him, and David inquired of the Lord, shall I pursue this raiding party? Will I overtake them? Pursue them, he answered. You will certainly overtake them and succeed in the rescue. David and the 600 men with him came to the Besor Valley, where they stayed behind. 200 of them were too exhausted to cross the valley, but David and the other 400 continued the pursuit. David is going to recover. David is heading on a journey to take back what was stolen from him. And so I've got 3 things for you today as you're in the process of recovery and you want to make sure you run the right pace. Here's the first thing you need to do. You need to pray. Pray. You say, Pastor, it's not 21 days of prayer. Why are we talking about prayer? Because prayer for a follower of Jesus is not something you're supposed to do a few times a year or even a few minutes a day. It's supposed to be part of your lifestyle. Prayer is this beautiful opportunity that we have to connect with our God. Thankfully, because of what Jesus did for us on the cross, the veil was torn. The separation between us and God has been bridged. And now we have a privilege and an honor to come to God in prayer, to seek after Him, to come before Him. Prayer is not our last resort. It's our first decision. It's the first thing we do. So David's in a hard place. There's some people that feel like stoning him. There's some situations that he didn't see coming. He wants to take back what's rightfully his. Here's what's the first thing David does. It says this, 1 Samuel chapter 30, verse 6. It said, but David found strength in the Lord his God. But David found strength in the Lord. If you want to know where your strength comes from, it doesn't come from the world. It doesn't come from CrossFit. It only comes through connecting with God. As you and I seek after the face of God, as we seek after the heart of God, it gives you and I the ability to become stronger, because worldly strength will never produce godly results. There's going to be some situations that you come up against in the process of recovery that only prayer can bring to pass. There's going to be some hardships and some struggles that you want to overcome. And rather than just fixating on the problem, rather than just focusing on what needs to be done, the first thing we've got to get in the habit of doing as followers of Jesus is coming to God, seeking after God, praying and believing that God is able to do more than we might ask, think, or imagine. How often do we get stuck complaining about it more than we pray about it? Complaining is never going to give us the ability to overcome the situations that we find ourselves in. We've got to be people who pray and who seek after God. So growing up, I watched WWE a lot. Come on, how many of y'all watched wrestling growing up? And I always loved the tag team matches, because tag team matches you had a teammate with you. So there would be two guys against two other guys, and what would happen is only one person would be fighting at a time. And then eventually, as that other person would get tired, they would tag the other teammate in, and the teammate would step in, and if they had more strength than the other opponent, they would ultimately get the victory. One of the things I love about prayer is it's our opportunity to tag God in to do what only He can do. It's the ability for you and I to tag in a God who never gets tired, who never gets weary, who never faints nor slumbers. We have a God who is stronger than any circumstance or situation we face. And here's what we know when we read Scripture, that He not only is going to win the current battle, but against the enemy, He wins every battle, because the enemy is crushed under His foot. Our God is stronger and bigger. He never gets tired. When's the last time you tagged God in to fight battles on your behalf? You need to take some time to pray. Why is prayer important? Because prayer aligns my mind with God's power. Prayer aligns my mind with God's power. Sometimes when I've got hard stuff going on, circumstances, situations, right, people, part of David's struggle is he's got people in his life that want to stone him. They're mad at him. Whenever my mind begins to run and race, what I really need is a mind shift. And I'm not going to figure out how to do that on my own. I need to begin to shift my mind onto a God who is bigger and more powerful than what I'm facing. Exodus chapter 15, verse 2 says this: "The Lord is my strength and my song. He has given me victory. This is my God, and I will praise Him. My Father's God, and I will exalt Him." God is our strength. He is our source of power. He is the one we run to and go to in our times of need. So in the process of recovery, the first thing we do is we pray. The second thing that we do is purge. Purge. To purge is to kill off or get rid of. There's some things in this next season that I believe in order for you to do all that God has called you to do, in order for you to really continue in walking in the new life that He has for you, there's some things that can't go with you. There's some old ways, some old habits that need to die. There's probably even some people that can't make the journey with you. So 1 Samuel chapter 30, verse 9 through 10, says that David and the 600 men with him came to the Besor Valley, where they stayed behind. 200 of them were too exhausted to cross the valley. David had 600, but in order for him to continue to pursue, he had to let go of some people who were in his life that were going to slow him down from recovering what the enemy had taken. I believe that there's not only some people in your life that need to be removed, but there's some places and some things. Come on, how many of y'all went to school? You know what a noun is? Noun are people, places, and things. Hey, there's some people in this next season that are going to have to be removed from your life because you can't recover at the pace that God wants you to if you're still carrying around dead weight. If you're running a race with people who don't want to run, at some point you've got to let them go so that you can do all that God has called you to. I'm not telling you to do it alone. I'm saying you got to find other people that are running the race as well. There's not only some people that need to go, there's some things that need to go. There's some ways of living. There's some ways that you communicate. There's probably some apps you need to get rid of. There's some things you need to quit doing. I don't know what those are, but I would venture to guess right now there's some things in your life that God just revealed to you, that God was like, hey, you need to get rid of, that you need to remove. And you were like, no, I don't really know that that's it. Hey, if God prompted you to get rid of something right now, the best thing that you can do is listen. The best, because he knows what's best for you. And his plans for you are to prosper you and not to harm you. It's good for things to be removed from our lives because it allows us to run the race at the pace that God has marked out for us. Not only do we need to purge some people and some things, we need to get rid of some places. For some of us, there's places we go, there's places we went in the past that no longer are a part of the person we used to be. And whenever you bring old life into new life gets contaminated. You don't want to walk in old life and new life at the same time because the truth is you can't. You can't be everything God created you to be in the future while still holding on to the things, the people, and the places of your past. Are you willing to purge some things? Are you willing to let some things go? There's some things in even my life that I need to drop in this next season because if not, I'll be carrying more weight than what I can bring with me. Tori and I were part of a coaching network in Florida, and we would fly to Florida a few times a year. We fly out of Concord, love that airport. Been great. But one day, Tori and I show up at the airport, and I'm trying to be a good husband. So I'm like, girl, I got the bags. I'll get everything checked in. You just go ahead and you go through security. I'll meet you at the gate. So I go to the counter, and I throw my bag on the scale, and it turns out that our bag was overweight. And this was an airport where you couldn't just pay an extra fee to have a heavier bag. We had to decrease the weight in the bag. So I ended up opening the bag, and the problem was I had like 3 or 4 pairs of shoes in the bag. I mean, it was like a 3-day trip, but you got to be fresh. So I'm like, I'm there, and I'm taking all this stuff out of the bag, and I'm zipping it back up, and I'm setting it on the counter, and it's still overweight, and I'm pulling out, and I walk through the security gate later on with 2 jackets and 3 pairs of shoes out of the bag because it was too overweight to carry on the trip. How many of you know it was a miserable flight trying to figure out how to hold all those shoes and those jackets? And the only reason we had to do that is because we didn't properly think about the weight we were carrying for the trip we were going on. A lot of times in our journey with Christ, we never assess the weight that God is calling us to carry in that season, and we end up overweight, and we end up having to carry too much with us. I wonder how much better our journey would be if we threw off the things we didn't really need. The truth is, I could have done with 1 pair of shoes. No, I couldn't. I could have done with 2 pairs of shoes for that trip. But if you don't assess the weight, you will never walk in the full purpose that God has called you to. There's a lot of us who are overweight in this season, not literally, but spiritually. And we need to assess what we're carrying, because if you carry weight more than God has called you to carry, you will never be able to sustain the pace that you're running your race. Here's what purging does. Purging removes the things that keep me from God's purpose. So prayer is what aligns our mind with God's power. Purging removes things that keep me from God's purpose. And every time I think about removing things, I come back to this verse in John 15, verse 2. This is what it says. I love this verse. It says, every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. So when we think about purging, a lot of times we think about the stuff that doesn't work, the things that were just the old stuff. So when this whole passage in John 15 is about Jesus says, my Father is a vine dresser. He takes away the branches that don't bear fruit. We get that. Then it says, in every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes that it might be even more fruitful. I would love to propose to you that there's possibly some things that have been incredibly fruitful in your life that God still wants to purge in this next season. There's probably some fruitful things that he wants to cut back, and it may feel like a struggle in the moment, but it's so that you can grow even further down the road. Because if a branch is never pruned, a branch can never grow to reach its full potential. So sometimes the things in our lives have to be cut back so that they can continue to grow. So we're going to pray. We're going to purge. Here's the third thing. We're going to pursue. We're going to pursue. And we're not just going to pursue anything. We're going to pursue the right things, because even though there's some people, some places, and some things that can't go with you on the journey, even though you're praying and the Lord is your strength, you and I are not promised that everything's going to be easy. We're not promised smooth sailing. We're not promised that our lives are going to be problem-free. At some point, you got to get up and keep walking. Just because you started with 600 and you're losing 200 doesn't mean that you get to quit your race. Doesn't mean you get to stop. Just because you lost your job doesn't mean you get to stop running the race that God has marked out for you. Just because you get an illness or a diagnosis from a doctor doesn't mean that your race is over. If you're not dead, God's not done with you. And the race for your life is still moving forward. So we want to pursue the things of God. So David loses 200 men, and it says this in 1 Samuel chapter 30, verse 10. But David and the other 400 men continued to pursue. Just because people are being left behind, just because there's people who are slowing you down, doesn't mean that your time on this earth is going to be extended. So you got to keep moving. We've got to keep pursuing. We've got to keep running after God. Over the course of the years, there have been plenty of times where I felt like quitting. Even within the last 8 months. Come on, like how many of you have felt like quitting in the last 8 months? But the thing that keeps me going is pursuing the plans and purposes that God has. I don't know what struggle you find yourself in. I don't know what pain or chaos or turmoil is going on in your life. But here's what I do know. You and I were made to run the race that God has marked out for us with endurance. You and I were made to have a thriving relationship with God. And what that looks like as you and I navigate this world is that we pray, we purge, and we pursue. We seek after the heart of God. We seek after the face of God. We get rid of the things that aren't of Him, and even assess the good things we get rid of so that we can experience great things. And then no matter what, we just keep on running. James says that blessed are those who persevere, for once they endure, they receive the crown of life that God has promised for him. Your biggest breakthroughs are on the other side of you just pushing through, of you continuing to pursue, continuing to chase, continuing to go after, no matter what the enemy throws your way. In the kingdom of God, you can't be stopped unless you stop. If you stop moving, then the enemy can defeat you. But if you keep going, if you keep pursuing, if you keep chasing the things of God, what you and I will find is that God over and over and over again has a plan that prospers and is not to harm us. That's what Jeremiah 29:11 says. I'm going to read you a passage in 1 Timothy, but the context, 1 Timothy chapter 6, to give you a little bit of context for what this passage was going through in the first kind of portion of these verses. Timothy says, hey, we came to this earth with nothing. And then he talks about this temptation to fall in love with our stuff and our things while we're here. He talks about how loving money is the root of all kinds of evil. But then he says this in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 11. But you, man of God, flee from all this and pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, endurance, and gentleness. If you were looking for a list, if you were saying to yourself at home right now, or wherever you're watching from, maybe you're in the car, maybe you're in the bathroom, whatever, wherever you're watching from today, if you're going, I don't know what to pursue, you're telling me to run after Jesus, to run after the things of God, I feel like I'm doing that. What do I need to specifically go after? Come back to this list in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 11, and he says, pursue righteousness. So if you're going to pursue righteousness, here's what you need to do. Find out everything in Scripture that God considers unrighteous, that God considers unclean. And don't pursue those things. Pursue righteousness. Pursue purity. Pursue holiness. Go after the things that God wants you and I to go after. Go after godliness. When's the last time you stopped for a second and said, does my life reflect the life of Jesus? Because to look like God is to look like His Son. And to look like His Son means that the way I love people, the way I treat people, the way I talk to people, the way I interact with people, the way I serve people, the way I give is all going to be based on the way that Jesus does life. So do you look like Christ? Because if we want to pursue the things of God, it requires us to look like the one whom we're chasing after. That's what discipleship was all about, was that there was this thing, it was called the dust of the rabbi. And you're thinking, like, that's not a real thing. You can look it up. But here's what they did. Back in the day, they wore, like, I said man dresses. They wore long robes, and what would happen is they wore sandals, and it was all dirt roads. And as these men would follow their rabbi, as they would follow their teacher, the dust from his feet would make the bottom of their outfit so dirty and filthy. And what's really cool about it is it would get so dirty and so filthy. And so they called it the dust of the rabbi, because it was for you and I to understand that our proximity to our teacher should be so close that we're able to pick up the dust from their feet. Do you follow Jesus that closely? Do you follow Jesus so closely that you're willing to catch the dust from His feet? To be so close to Jesus that you can't help but to be generous. To be so close to Jesus that you can't help but love those who persecute you. To be so close to Jesus that you quit fighting with people on social media, or you quit posting things on social media so that you'll get attention, but rather that you would share hope and love and grace and mercy with people all around you. Would you catch the dust from the feet of Jesus and be so close to Him that for those who are sick and broken and hurting, you can't help but step in and serve? Would you be so close to Jesus that even when you don't feel like serving or feel like giving, you choose to do it? Because this walk with Christ was never about feelings, but about calling and character. How close are you to Jesus? To pursue faith? What does it look like to pursue faith? Just know if you go to pursue faith, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to have faith. Faith is the ability to trust God when you can't see it. Faith is the ability to know that you're not placing your belief in something, but someone who was and is to come, who is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, who is able to do all things. Faith is taking a step every day not knowing what the next one looks like. To pursue faith means that there's going to be some next steps. There's going to be some water walking opportunities. There's some things that you're going to experience that are incredible, but you've got to have enough faith to get out of the boat. You've got to have enough faith to plant your feet on the water and actually start walking with God. What does it look like to pursue love? Stop being a jerk all the time. Like, for real. You know what bugs me? I got like 6.5 minutes, so I can talk. What really bugs me in this season is when Christians post things like, oh man, people just hate the truth, and they hate, followers of Jesus. You can't make a stand for anything anymore. They probably don't like you because you're a jerk and you're rude. Like, if you would love people and put the same time and energy into caring for others as you did telling people how much you think they're wrong, they might not actually dislike you that much. And I'm just saying, Jesus was clear that the world will hate us, that the world will persecute us. I'm not saying you get away from that. But don't blame the world for internal issues within your own heart. What does it look like to love people, to pursue love? Well, the love of God that pursues us is unrelenting. It doesn't change based on circumstances or situations. It's fully devoted, always chasing. Pursue endurance. Most of us can't run our race at the right pace because we get gassed out because our spiritual disciplines are so low. You ought to be able to spend more than 5 minutes a day with Jesus. And I'm not saying that if that's where you're at right now, that's a bad thing. I'm not even telling you that doing your Bible reading plan on YouVersion is a bad thing. But I have, in me personally, I have the ability to spend hours on Facebook. Do I have the same ability to spend hours in God's Word? Because if I don't, I should probably be assessing my spiritual disciplines so that I'm ready to run my race with endurance. Endurance is necessary when you need to run for a long period of time and can't stop. And when many of us get gassed out and we burn out is when we don't have the ability to stop. But endurance is not something you build in a moment. Endurance is something you train for. So get your spiritual disciplines up. Spend time in God's Word. Pray, fast, be connected to biblical community. That's how you run this thing with endurance and gentleness. You got to be nice to people. Look in Scripture that it's the kindness, it's the gentleness of God that brings people to repentance. If our heart isn't in line with the heart of God, we need to pursue the heart of God above how we feel internally. Then verse 12 says this: fight the good fight of faith. Take hold of the eternal life which you were called when you made your good confession in the presence of many witnesses. For you and I today, as followers of Jesus, I think what we ought to do is we ought to pray, purge, and pursue the right things of God. If you're watching this message right now and you're not a follower of Jesus, here's what I want you to know. Jesus Christ loves you. He died for you so that you didn't have to be in bondage and captivity of your sin. He died so that you could have a thriving relationship with Him, so that you could have connection with God, so that you could remove things in your life that don't need to be a part of it, and so that you can continue to pursue and do all the things that He planned for you long ago. Scripture is clear that before you were even in your mother's womb, God knew you. And if you want to begin a relationship with that God today, I want to walk you through a prayer. And this prayer is not special in any way. We say the same prayer every week because we want you, for those of you who are watching, to be able to lead your friends and family to Jesus. But this prayer just simply recognizes the fact that we are sinful, but we accept Jesus' payment as our Lord and Savior for our sins. And now, from this day forward, our lives are changed forever. So if you want to pray that prayer with me today, will you just say this? Dear Jesus, today I give you my life. I place my hope and trust in you. Thank you for dying in my place so that I could have new life. In Jesus' name, amen.
Wow, what a fantastic message from Pastor Nick. And he just gave you the opportunity to make a decision for Jesus. If you did that today, head over to Propel untitled.church/online. There you can fill out a digital connect card. We just want to celebrate with you. And continue with us as we sing the song called Waymaker. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, you're mending every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 And that is who you are. 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 Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 Waymaker, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle work, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Father, we worship you. We are so thankful that you are our light in the darkness, that you are a promise keeper, that you keep all your promises made to us. Thank you for the message that you've laid on Pastor Nick's heart to speak to us today. Let it just be with us this week as we go forward, and just let it shine out in our lives and change our lives a little bit this week. We love you and we praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
What an incredible experience. Pastor Nick always does a great job just bringing heat.
He really does, man. He always
yeah.
encourages me and inspires me. That was just an incredible message. Hey, we have a couple of quick dates, some upcoming events that we'd like to share with you real quick. The first one is October 18th, which is today. We're having a fall cookout from 5 to 7 p.m., man. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to have a ton of food.
Oh, yeah.
Heard somebody was bringing cornhole. If you like cornhole, come out there and challenge me. I love playing cornhole. You're going to get beat. I'm going to be honest with you, but I'd love to play against you. Will's going to be there. You're going to be there, right?
Oh, I'll be there.
Yeah, fall cookout, 5 to 7 p.m. tonight. It's going to be so much fun.
Right. Now, if you come in to play cornhole, I've seen some heavy hitters out there, so you better come with your A game.
Yeah, got to bring your A game.
So another date is October 23rd from 5:30 to 8:30, which is next Friday. We're having Workday here at our church.
Come on.
Now, we're getting closer to being able to meet in person with, the HVAC. We have movement on it.
Amen.
Well, there's things that we need to do. There's projects we need to do. We're touching that paint. We're putting the finishing touches on our bathrooms.
Yep.
We're installing stair treads. I'm sure between now and then we'll probably find 15 other things that we need to do. So it's an excellent opportunity for you to come, for you to just connect, for you to serve, and to make a difference. It's incredible.
Yeah, it really is, man. So work days are always super fulfilling for me.
Oh, yeah.
I love being able to see immediately the impact that we have on work day. That's incredible. And another date for you is October 31st. That's Halloween, right? We're throwing a Propel Church party right here at Propel Church.
Right.
And man, if you ain't never been to a Propel party, there ain't no party like a Propel party.
Right.
Come on, we
You're
get
right.
down with it. I'm gonna be real with y'all. There's gonna be lots of candy, fun games for kids and stuff like that. Come hang out with us. That's gonna be October 31st from 5 to 8 p.m.
Right. Now, if you could, go to propel.church/online and fill out a digital connect card. just give us a little bit of information about you. You can also drop any prayer requests that you have. And there's also some really good resources for your kids.
Yeah.
And you can also give both safely and securely.
Yeah. And speaking of giving, hey, thank you so much for your generosity. You are making a tremendous difference, not just in this community, but to all the organizations that we partner with. And man, I heard today that we are under 100K for this HBASH thing. Yeah, man, awesome. God is doing something incredible with your generosity. And we had this church, Factory Church has decided to partner with us. We're calling it a match challenge, right? Match challenge?
I think so, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So it's 5K that they've offered to match us with for everything we give in our legacy fund until October 21st. And so the way that you give to our legacy fund is you're going to go to propel.church/give, and you're going to hit that scroll down menu, click on legacy, and then just put all the hundreds of dollars and stuff in there, or anything that you have that you can give to legacy, man. Again, what God is doing with this thing has just been so cool. It's been really inspiring. Yeah.
Right. All right, so if you're in a watch party right now, you're going to shift over to the after party. And if you're in a house party, you can go to propel.church/house party, and you can get the house party discussion guide.
Yeah.
We can't wait to see you next week.